Welcome to episode 42 of the Triple Takeover Toycast, a fortnightly podcast about vintage and modern toy lines that have their roots in the 80s and 90s, but mostly Transformers. We've been clipping and saving this topic for the right moment, having banked enough robot points to pull it out of the cereal box. I'm joined tonight, as always, by my reinforcements from Cybertron. First up, it's the lad who's always had his Weetabix. It's toy photographer and writer, Toybox Mailbox, or as his mailman calls him, Wake Up Liam. Alongside him, it's the chap whose photos are always cookie crisp, the toy photographer, writer, and YouTuber with the stars base in his eyes. It's Sixo from Sixo, or as his mailman calls him, Honey, I'm home. It's time to play that Special Teams Toycast cassette as we delve into the topic of Mailaway promo Transformers. What's shaking, lads?
That was cool.
That was very good, mate. Technical point, we'll have to pull you up on that. My mailman calls me, "Oh, it's you again."
I really struggled with how offensive or joking to go with that.
Yeah, I did get it once. They said to me, "Oh, I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you in a while." I think was the comment or something like that. I was like, "Oh yeah."
Could I ask where the most important pun was in there? Where was mail away, mail away, mail away?
That's the outro, you bastard. So that's getting cut.
Oh.
Brilliant. How are you going to do that? Are you going to sing over the top of it? Like,
Just wait and see.
All right.
Have you got Enya coming on to do this?
He's invited her in.
It's got on Cameo and got Enya.
It's Enya.
No,
How old is she now?
too old to know what a Cameo is, probably.
No, I'm sure she charted at the same time as Word Up.
I'm going to Google it now. This is off to a good start, isn't it?
Yeah.
61.
Wow, I thought she was always like in her 60s.
Yeah, we could get her on. We could still get her on.
She probably collects Transformers. But more importantly, how about that pink hot rod?
Yeah, that's pretty special, isn't it?
Perfect.
So I feel like we haven't talked about that enough yet.
No. We should probably do an episode on it.
Well, we did a mini-sode, which was about 50-something minutes. But it's just a mini-sode, yeah. But I really feel like we could just go to town on it again. Is that what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned other things, right, since then.
We have learned other things. There's been a new picture released by Evan Brooks, which was the designer, which is very exciting. He's clearly the champion in all of that. Do you know what I mean? He's clearly like the one that has been really pushing for that toy to happen. He's obviously as passionate about it as like we are, for example, because he mentioned it on Instagram. He actually replied to me, which was really nice, and it very much indicated that it was like a dream project. Yeah. And that there's been stuff that I've read about him before that's indicated that he brought it up, I think, previously when he was quite junior on the design team and was like, "Hey, we should do a pink hot rod," and they were all like, "No." And then it's sort of taken this amount of time for him to get established enough that now he's like, "We should do a pink hot rod." So it's quite exciting.
Was it him I was referring to on the mini-sode then, where I said somebody had talked about doing it? It's probably that same interview then.
No, the interview you were referring to was the Unicron.com interview about the WFC Unicron, I think.
Right, yeah.
But
it was definitely Unicron interview. But they did refer to Pink Hot Rod in that interview for sure.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that's when we called him Fuchsia. But I remember reading somewhere somebody had said they'd been in and asked about it and wanted to do it, but been told no. And I think it's probably that one.
I wonder how long ago that must have been that things have changed since then. Because I can't imagine it's just a year or two. It must have been a longer time.
When did our podcast start?
It was in March 2021.
There we go then. That's when the Pink Hot Rod actually changed.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe so. That's when
so don't totally owning it then.
Right, exactly.
the veil of humility has been lifted completely.
I'm just stealing it, getting my moment in the sun. This is us.
Yeah, the actual Hasbro designer, he's got nothing on us. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He can't claim the same level of input as us, surely.
No.
He's responding to you on Instagram because he knows how important you are. I
really don't think he knew who I was versus anybody else on that chat. But
I'm pretty sure our Discord community has covered the minimum order quantity for this release.
Oh, it does seem like it. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like between us, we have.
Yeah. I've got a couple on the way.
I've got two. I need a third. I'm planning on a third.
You're going to get a third?
Yeah, but I'm going to have one as is. I'm going to have the other in the prototypes, with the stickers.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to attempt to do that one from that advert, from the UK advert, with the tracks.
Right. Oh, man.
And all the cone head stickers and all that.
That would be hilarious.
Are you going to then somehow try to remove the tampo from the chest?
Well, yeah. Is it a tampo or is it paint? Is it just paint?
I think it might be paint, actually. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm going to speak to Nathan when we go out on Saturday. Say, oh, I've got a few things for you to dip and chrome.
Nice. I'm sure it'll be well up for that.
But this is the one chance to get all your pink hot rod stuff out the way, you know?
It does feel like you don't want to miss out on it, right? Because it's like, it's one of those, who knows what quantity they're going to make this thing in. I don't know. Like if it sold out, and then it wasn't available anymore, I'd be kicking myself if this thing became really hard to get hold of and I didn't have the kind of ones that I wanted or whatever. I definitely want to try
the going rate, wouldn't you? You just swallow it and do it, really.
Yeah, maybe I'm trying to avoid that as well. So,
yeah.
But I definitely want to have one that looks like the prototype if I can as well.
For sure, yeah.
I'm just hoping Toy Hacks are going to rejig their stickers so we can get the proper purple door stickers. That'd be nice.
We need to get them on the pink hot rod train.
Yeah. I've tried nudging them on Twitter so far. A couple of little sly pokes here and there.
Could you not just get a vintage one and use the whole lighter fluid trick on the side stickers? And once it's totally soaked in lighter fluid, it'll come off easily. And then you just place it onto the reissue and then it'll adhere again.
I could, but I don't like burning to death either, so I don't really want to be covering myself in lighter fluid.
Have you tried flame? I mean, it seems appropriate for the character.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. It feels like there's a bit of a weight behind this. Like if it had come out that way originally, I wouldn't be that bothered about having it like the prototype. But because we've had all these years, it's like suddenly it's like all these different ones I've looked at and wanted one of them. It's the chance to do that, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that you lot still have a little bit you want to say about Pink Hot Rod. But in case anyone has been left wondering, this week's episode is about mail-away Transformers. Now, this is not going to be us reeling off all the different mail-aways year by year, but rather just looking at the concept of mailing away for Transformers throughout the line's history. And I think it's very heavily weighted towards the vintage era. But I thought we could also talk about not just toys, but also other things that we might have mailed away from originally. I remember mailing away from the Panini stickers, for example, and just that whole process of doing that as a kid, seeing like how much you remember of that. What are you laughing at?
You know what I'm laughing at.
I don't actually.
I must admit, every time you say mail away, I'm chuckling in my...
It's because you keep saying
what
it.
should I call
mail
it?
Away, mail away, mail away.
What should I say? I
was just thinking of...
Now you're going to be bleeped and cut out as well.
Yeah. I was also thinking of another song, actually, which is the one that we had on the Pink Hot Rod thing this morning. So it would be, I don't know, something about take my breath, mail away. I don't know. Something there.
or maybe not at all that in any way, shape or form.
Maybe it's Rod Stewart and we are mailing.
You've both had your funny pills tonight, obviously.
Yep.
Prescription's been refilled.
Blimey, not looking forward to a night of this at all.
His prescription's been refilled.
Yeah.
But before we get to all of that, maybe we should mention our sponsors, eh? So we've got two tonight, as ever, which is really exciting. We've got tfsource.com, who you can check out for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And we have kapowtoys.co.uk in the UK. And we're very grateful to both of them for sponsoring the pod. And we'll do a bit of a longer section on them in the middle, as we always do. And we'll check out what they've got in stock and up for pre-order at the moment.
Be sure to check out our Patreon. That's patreon.com/triple takeover for the Pink Hot Rod minisode, plus about 30 to 40 hours of bonus material.
Yeah, right.
On other less important topics, which may or may not be related to Pink Hot Rod.
But also Pink Hot Rod.
Yes. And also get early access to main episodes, vote on episode polls, join our Discord community, and hang out in the very best Transformers space that exists on the internet, and commission minisodes, which you can then listen to exclusively, or even go to the highest Goldbox Classics tier, where you can get a free piece of merch for signing up, as well as access to our exclusive mini-series content. So far, we've got Sixo Reads IDW, and you've got me collecting Unicron Trilogy toys. And in the future, obviously, we will expand that offering to more different topics. So check it out, patreon.com/triple takeover.
And we're coming up toward the Christmas period now. People are going to be needing gifts, I had my old good buddy Saint Nick on the phone this week saying, his elves are struggling, asking me where he could get some good quality gear. And I was like, oh, mate, I've got you covered. If you head over to redbubble.com/people/triple takeover/explore, you can get all sorts, Santa. The kids up and down on the good list, they'll be well happy with this gear. We've got aprons, kids love that. T-shirts, those little things you put mugs on. I've got pictures on a few of them.
Coasters. You're referring to coasters.
That's it. Coasters. Coasters to coast. All that lovely Sixo's artwork. No stationery yet, I don't believe.
It depends on your definition of it.
Yeah. But yeah, go there, check that out, buy some stuff, look cool.
Mailaway Transformers. As kids, I'm sure if you collected Transformers in the G1 era, you will remember the robot points on the back of the box and a little bit of text that said clip and save for promotions. Now, before we get any further, did either of you two clip and save those robot points off G1 Transformers packaging?
I reckon I know the answer for Liam.
I did not, because I always thought this was for Americans only. I didn't realise that we were able to get these things.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be honest. Like, I never did. I don't think I even thought about whether it was American or not. I just never bothered with it, to be honest.
I clipped and saved them all. I just didn't do anything with them. I still have them in a jar.
You didn't mail them away?
No, I didn't.
It's kind of in the name, really, isn't it? The instruction.
But like, I don't know if you guys remember, but on a lot of old toy cards, you'd often have a sticker on the back, which if you peeled it away, it would always have like information for like American audience or different parts of the world. And often it was a mail-away thing, and it would say like they'd have like points or stamps, or whatever, and it'd say these aren't valid in this country or only in America or somewhere like that. So I always assumed that was the case with the Transformers boxes. It was only in like the late 90s when I discovered it, we could have actually got stuff.
How did you discover that? Was it just by meeting other collectors and like websites online and things?
Yeah, I think it was one of the first times I looked at the internet. One of the very first times. I was looking up the score for Forest versus Wimbledon. That's what I was doing, even though I had it on the radio. It was being introduced to the internet for the first time. I was like, wow, I can see it on here too. But one of the other things I was looking at was Transformers stuff, and it was in some sort of, I can't remember what it was. It was like some sort of weird chat room thing. I can't remember. It's so long ago. I just remember I saw someone talking about it, and I was like, no way. That was a thing we could get.
So did you guys not like pay attention to the catalogs that we used to get, where they had the mail-away form and they had picture of like Time Warrior, the watch, or the Special Teams cassette and stuff like that?
I don't remember us having those.
Yeah, I don't really remember it that well either. I guess we must have done, but it really doesn't honestly register with me.
Do you not remember the Lumabots promo in UK Transformers boxes? Stars base?
Well, I know what that is, don't you know? Yeah. Like I know about all this stuff now, but I don't remember it from the time. I think Stars was one that I vaguely have maybe in some knowledge of. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm almost wondering if it was mentioned in the Marvel UK comic at one point or something, like in one of the adverts or something. So I probably had more knowledge of all of this stuff from that than anything. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think 86, I would have been 3, turning 4. So my ability to read those things probably wasn't, the best. But the catalogs I remember the catalog posters, those, but not really adverts for stuff.
Yeah, certainly I would have been too young for some of it anyway, like Reflector and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have seen the Reflector promo here as far as I remember. I remember being quite surprised by those when I got onto eBay in the 90s and saw those really, really tiny US booklets that came with the USG one around 85, 86. But in the UK, I think because I was still getting G1 up till 1989, and I don't mean 1989 issue G1, but stuff that was from earlier years. For example, I'm pretty sure I got my Rodimus Prime well after the movie came out on VHS. I think it was after that I got my Rodimus, because I think Target Master Scourge was out at the same time on the day I got my Rodimus Prime. And I do remember reading, obviously, the clip and save text on the back of the box, which is why I clipped and saved them. And it's what my brother was doing as well, or either my mum was, actually, I realized that I must have been doing them. I must have been clipping them out. Kept all the tech specs as well. Wrote the interview number down on the back of Cyclones' one. And yeah, but I never thought to do anything with them because I don't think there was ever anything in the Mailaways that I saw that I really wanted.
So were you keeping them then? Because obviously if you were keeping the tech specs and stuff as well, that implies in a way that you were keeping them more for the sake of keeping part of the box than it was like a little collection by itself, as opposed to, oh, I'm actually going to mail these away and get something.
I don't know why I'd keep the points then, or why I wouldn't keep other parts of the box, like the massive box art off the front. I never kept that. My brother kept the tracks, and I've got his tracks in my collection at home, actually. But I didn't keep box art. I'm not sure I had that many instruction booklets, to be honest.
Yeah, because lots of people seemingly cut out the character on the front, didn't they?
Yeah,
the actual box
right.
art. That was a very common thing. Lots of people cut out the tech spec, which is kind of intended for that. I haven't seen many other parts of the box that people tend to keep. Sometimes the flaps on the side, I've seen that a little bit. You get auctions sometimes, don't you, and things for when people have the toy just with one of the flaps randomly. Right. Or like bits of the box anyway. But yeah, no, I've never really heard of anybody just like keeping the robot points necessarily. But
I imagine there are some though, because I imagine there are a lot of people, because it's the one thing the box tells you to cut out and keep, isn't it? So there are people, even if they don't know what they are, they will still keep them just in case.
And I'm sure I remember Time Warrior from when I was a kid, and I'd never seen a Time Warrior as a kid, so it was just that picture in the Mailaway paperwork that I would have seen. So I think maybe that was kind of something I might have wanted, but otherwise I can't think of a reason to keep the points. I mean, after all, I had the boxes and I didn't keep those, which surprises me that I would cut them up and keep these parts. I only have tech specs from 1986 toys onwards as well. I don't have any tech specs from the 84 and 85 guys, so it wasn't something I did from the beginning either. It was from further down the line.
You're probably too young.
Maybe, yeah. I would have been between 6 and 10 during my main Transformers receiving phase in childhood.
See, I remember them on the backs of the box, but I can't think of what you would have got in sort of the 87, 88 onwards. Were we still getting stuff in this country for that?
Right, so we would have got the Special Teams cassette, the audio cassette.
Yeah.
We would have got Lumobots, which were these sort of flat, glow-in-the-dark, I guess, kind of like stickers that we could mail away for. Their mail-away pamphlet was really bright green, all in the same font.
I do remember that. I do remember that.
The tape, someone at school had that, and so they would have obviously done that.
We had Time Warrior, if I'm not wrong, because there is a UK Time Warrior. Even mainland Europe had like a Milton Bradley version Time Warrior box, so that one was quite widespread. And of course, Starspace would have eventually made its way into UK paperwork as well.
Starspace was definitely in the UK for sure, I think. But I've got to be honest, all of this stuff, even now, just passes me by really. Like if it's not an actual robot that turns into like a car or something, do you know what I mean? I'm not too worried about it. Like
see, I can't have known about the Starspace because you guys know me well enough to know that would have been something that would have caught my eye straight away, even at that age.
I think so too, yeah.
I think the first time I saw that was when I think Graham posted a picture of it. You know,
he did, didn't he?
Twitter a few years ago. I think the first time he posted one, and I don't think I'd ever seen it before. And I was like, "What the hell is this?"
I tend to see all the Starspace stuff is from the US. It's Rodimus Prime in front of the computer console. That's the one I really remember. I couldn't even tell you what the UK Starspace paperwork looks like. And I think the UK and the US had a different Starspace. Now, either I've got that wrong, because I know there's a different Takara version Starspace.
Is there?
Yeah, and I have a feeling it's something like either the UK or the US Hasbro version.
Battlestars
is a lot rarer than, I'm ignoring that, than the Japanese Takara Starspace. But yeah, I think the Hasbro one is quite tough to get, actually, in really nice condition.
I'm sure it is, because it is just literally cardboard, isn't it? Like quite thin cardboard as well.
Exactly. Comes flat packed
and also, I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing the sort of nature of these things, being mailaways and that, they're not exactly going to be preserved, are they? Do you know what I mean? Like we've seen it with the Omnibots. We talked about it a bit with the Omnibots and said that in a funny way, because they sort of hung around so much, that it's very hard to find good condition Omnibots, or it can be. And we've seen the same. Well, I certainly have. I know you have as well, Maz, with the what are they called? With the old the dudes, the guy with the drill with the head. What are they called?
Power
dashes. Thank you. Why has my brain gone completely blank on the power dashes? I kept wanting to say battle charges, and I was like, that's not them. And I'm looking at them right now. I have them, but yeah, with the old power dashes, they're very hard to find in decent nick as well, aren't they? So,
very much so.
I would imagine that it's probably a bit of a running theme with a lot of this mail-away stuff, that it just wasn't kept in particularly pristine condition. But the Starspace, I'm sure, is probably one of the worst examples.
I think so, yeah. But of course, there's other mailaways that I'm sure you guys would have been aware of, like from the Weetabix drag strip and the Weetabix Fireflight.
Yeah,
I was not aware of those at the time, I can tell you.
I definitely was, and I've told that story many times on here now, haven't I? About how I ended up with loads of toys from Weetabix as a result of that. So yeah, I definitely remember that one. That's my favourite mailaway of all time.
I am here for you telling that story again.
What? So I've tried to find out what this was through my mum, and she remembers it, but she can't remember how it happened. But from what I remember is, I think we were clipping the things to save for it, and I'm sure we sent them in, and they sent a letter back saying something like, "Oh no, it's past now." And I think my mum sent off a complaint. So there was just this random day where out of nowhere, this enormous box. I remember it being just ginormous, because obviously I would have been quite small at the time. Smaller, should I say. I'm average height now. But this giant box. And it was filled with most of the first lot of Gold Box Classics. So you had
it was filled with all of Transformers.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's all of the ones that I'd had before. So it was the only ones that didn't have were like Silverbolt and Sunstreaker were the only two that weren't in it. I think from that, I can't remember which waves they were. It must have been the first wave, because there was like a Wheeljack, Inferno. It was just loads. Onslaught, just tons and tons, because it was a massive, massive box. And I remember being very surprised. It was the first time I'd been like, whoa, because it was like a random Christmas in the middle of the year.
That must have been one heck of a letter, because that is a monstrous overcompensation for a missing drag strip.
What did your mum threaten them with? Honestly, like I can't.
But the worst thing is, I would have had all of those jets and cars anyway, the Stunticons and aerial bots, because the only one I never had was Silverbolt, so I would have had them. So I was just throwing them on.
Can I just say that the listeners need to know that we had suggested that you maybe do your own mini-series topic for GBC, being Liam discovers G1, and your objections to that was, nah, I've had them all. And I can see why now.
Yeah. I can totally see why, because he got sent a massive box with all of them.
But that was amazing, just that day, because it was obviously nobody knew what it was, so it was opening it and putting it away, and my face was like that, seeing all these gold Transformers boxes. It was amazing.
Yeah. So whoever's got a mail-away Transformers story, what's going to top that? Liam just got all of G1 in a box.
I just can't fathom it. Like you say, what on earth was the level of complaint that they were like, oh man, we've really got to, compensate these folks. We've really got to get in there with a huge box of insane Transformers, just a whole collection of it.
Well, let's talk to Andy Cousins again, because he would have been in charge at the time. Maybe he could give us some insight about that office.
He's got the letter.
Yeah.
Maybe it was him personally, yeah. He's a pretty nice guy. Maybe that was it. Maybe that explains it.
Yeah, I have asked her. She has no recollection of what it was. She just remembers it, that when it came, like I do.
She doesn't remember all of Transformers descending on you.
But actually, Sixo, I'm the same as you. I had no recollection of the Weetabix mail-away during the UK run of it, during the Classics era. But I very, very clearly remember mailing away for so many other things in the late 80s and 90s.
Did you never see the advert? There was like a TV advert for it, wasn't there?
No, didn't see it. Mailing away Batman symbols of hula hoops or whatever it was to get the 1989 diecast Batmobile. Yep, remember that clearly. Mailing away for all the Panini stickers I didn't have in the Transformers sticker album. Remember that super clearly. And that was an amazing feeling when that all came in through the post. Like, every single gap filled. It was a brilliant feeling, because you didn't complete anything as a kid. I never completed anything as a kid. But that was a great feeling. So I can imagine how cool it must have been to get a mail-away G1 toy in the US, during that period of time. Yeah. Or a crate, yeah.
They never sent any Weetabix. That's the weird part of this. There was no Weetabix. It was just Transformers.
That's the thing. Like, you think that they might at the most say to you, oh, here's like 3 months worth of Weetabix or something, right? Like, I don't know, whatever, but just a load of toys. So random.
But, yeah. Oh.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. But no, I must have missed out on so much of this stuff, because I have no recollection of mailing away for anything as a kid. Honestly,
anything at all?
No. So all the stuff you're describing, none of it rings true for my experience. I can't remember any of it. Honestly, like, I had some sticker albums and things, and I would have had stuff that, like, akin to what you're describing, that feasibly could have been mailed away for. But I guess I just never did it. I don't remember it.
The standard thing we all did, though, where we started collecting all the packets of crisps and stuff, and you end up with loads as like part of some kind of mad fad, and then you don't actually post them because you don't end up with enough anyway, and you've moved on by then.
That's happened a few times, yeah.
The Batman one you mentioned is, I remember that so clearly, the like fever pitch of everyone trying to collect the packs. But I don't remember anyone ever mailing it off. I remember I had tons of them, but still never mailed it off.
I wonder what sort of quantity this sort of stuff was produced in, like Stars Base and things like that. Even the Omnibots, really, like I sort of been really interested to know more about actually what the quantity of it all was and how much was redeemed at the time. I mean, we know, again, coming back to the Omnibots, we know, don't we, that they ended up in bargain bins and things like that. So clearly it can't have been super successful.
Well, that's what I'm kind of trying to get at. So I can see that I had a history of doing mailaways, and Liam did too. And I was collecting robot points for Transformers around the same period, but I never mailed away for anything for Transformers. Right. And you didn't need loads of points, to be fair. It wasn't like you needed an entire month's supply of hula hoops in order to actually get anything from them, or get a lucky dip out of a cereal box where you finally had something like you won a prize and you could mail away for some horrible plastic toy. This would have been 3 or 4 Transformers max, even small ones like Stunticons or something like that, and you would have been able to get something. But I was never compelled to. Either I really didn't want what they were offering, but I'd like to think that if I was in the US and Omnibots were offered, or Power Dash, actual G1 toys, Reflector, you'd think you'd be on that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the Omnibots were 2 robot points each.
That's one toy.
Yeah. So I mean, feasibly, if you got one of the larger toys, you'd be. That's it. Do you know what I mean? You've got a fee to pay, obviously, because you don't just get them for the coupon, but you're in already. So it's kind of funny that, I don't know. I mean, like for me, I don't recall any of these toys as a kid, and I'm not just talking about my own household. I'm talking about like friends' households and things, and I don't know anybody that had any of these things.
Well, we didn't have them in the UK, the Power Dashes.
No, sure.
Or Reflector. So we would have missed out on like what is now the premium mail-away G1 content as far as that's concerned.
Because they were able to get Mirage and stuff, weren't they? Like later.
Right. So moving on to 86, things like Thundercracker, Sunstreaker, Wheeljack, Mirage, I think also Ratchet were available as mailaways in later years. And then, of course, during the movie, if you were in the US, you could have got Prime and Megatron with the movie certificates, which are now supremely valuable. So they had a good selection. And, of course, Reflector.
Yeah, man. That's kind of the poster boy of all of this, isn't it? It's like the one that everybody thinks of, first of all, that and maybe the Omnibots. But there's something about Reflector. And I think the fact that it was in the cartoon so early on as well, the fact that it was in...
It is.
It was in the cartoon from day
Major
one.
Role, really.
Yeah. I mean, hugely... I was going to say it's reflective, but I was going to do that without any hint of a pun or anything. But no, it's...
Hey, what stopped you?
I don't know, man.
Speaking of it through a different lens.
Exactly. There we go. Absolutely. But no, it was mad, really, when you think about the kind of process of that, because it's in the cartoon pilot, hugely big role, and obviously they did the Seeker thing as well, didn't they? And recolored that guy into like multiple different things. But weird that it doesn't look anything like the toy whatsoever. But then they don't release the toy at the time. They hang on to it for 2 years and then do it as a mail away instead. I mean, what was the logic?
And then there's the cartoon Bible paperwork that very clearly says, do not feature this character in any episodes going forward.
Right.
It must have been after Heavy Metal Wars. It was like, no, please don't include this character
anymore.
Yeah.
Still snuck into the movie, though.
Yeah, very briefly, isn't it? Yeah, he's in 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. It's like blink and you miss it. You got to really pause to see him, don't you? But he's there.
It's fascinating as well, because he's not like a car or a jet or something like that. It's something really particularly memorable and unique compared to any other character. It's one of the things that makes Soundwave so, interesting, because he shrinks down into a small, normal, everyday object that anyone would have had. Most people don't have Lamborghinis and stuff, but everyone's got a tape player or a camera. But yeah, anyone had a familiar item like that, and that's what always made it really interesting. And obviously he got like a real featured role in the cartoon briefly with his
It's so weird. As we're talking about all of this, and well, firstly the whole mail away thing by itself, but then some of this stuff about like Reflector and that especially, and some of the items and things, it really makes me think how ridiculous it all must sound to modern Transformers fans. Honestly, I mean, we'll put the mail-away thing to one side for a second, and let's come to that. But firstly, the fact that there was a toy that was in the pilot episode of the cartoon that looked nothing like the toy anyway, but then they sat on it for 2 whole years, and then you had to collect little bits of cardboard from the back of boxes, send it off in the post to get it sent back to you. It just sounds so bizarre, doesn't it? Like, why? What? Why couldn't you just buy it in the shop?
Well, you could in a bunch of countries, couldn't you? You could buy it in France, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Scandinavia. It was available as a Juiced Diaclone.
Yes, it was. And that
killer artwork.
That makes it even more bizarre. The fact that, it was which was actually probably the same stock as Transformers even. Is that fair to say behind the scenes, or maybe not?
It's the same mold as the Japanese one because it says Microx on it. It doesn't say Reflector with the rub sign.
Does it? Okay, interesting. So, I didn't know that one. So it's just the fact that, you can buy it, as you say, in some countries, but not others. And I don't know, it's just mad to me.
But not in Transformers packaging?
Yes, in Japan. You could buy it in Transformers packaging.
Yeah, you could.
On shelves. It was number 21 Reflector, and it was it's stunning and obviously an extremely desirable and rare and expensive variant now.
But in terms of like Western stuff, we're so used to, say, Swoop and stuff not being available here, but being in other parts of the world and other parts of the world, toys like that. And it's really odd that Reflector has such a role like that, and his toy was ready to go. But he didn't go anywhere under the Transformers brand, other than Japan, obviously, but under the Hasbro sort of umbrella. He was completely just taken off the table for everywhere. It's quite unusual.
It must have something to do with the mode or the build of the toy, because first versions of that toy, the arms just come straight off. There's no plugs on the end of the bar on, what's the middle guy called? Spectro?
Yeah. Oh,
Spyglass?
Spyglass, maybe? I can never remember what they just reflected to me, honestly.
So that was really easy to take apart, and then they updated that toy to have like little blobs on the end where it's a little harder for the arms to come off. Like you said, they don't look anything like the show character. It is 3 separate robots that are needed to make one toy, one alt mode. Maybe it was something like that. They just didn't think it was going to sell very well. It just wasn't part of their plans. I mean, we had Megatron and Soundwave who turned into non-cars and non-planes, and we had the cassettes as well. Maybe they just didn't think it was going to sell. Just didn't think it was going to be that cool. Because after all, Takara just made these molds available to them.
Yeah, maybe they couldn't figure out how to sell it either, because it is a unique packaging proposition, isn't it? It's not like you say, it's 3 small bots, and it's like, where does that sit in their pricing tiers and stuff like that? Because I suppose technically it's almost like a box set, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. A little bit. It's like 3 toys in one. So you're going to laugh because the middle guy, of course, is called Viewfinder.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Makes much more sense. The other 2 are Spectro and Spyglass. But Spectro is the red one.
Right.
So there you go, which I think is my favourite, actually, of the 3.
I like the one with the clicky head.
Yeah, the clicky head dude's cool too, but I just like the red. But it's just, I don't know, it's just so bonkers to me. But again, the whole mail-away thing in its entirety is quite bonkers. But I think what you just hit on there, Liam, rings true for me, in that I think probably part of the reason that none of this ever really kind of registered with me is that I was just quite used to some characters not having toys. Right. Swoop and Shockwave and, all of those guys. So, I don't know, I guess in my mind it was like, there's no toy of X, Y, or Z. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, we would never have seen Reflector either, I suppose, over here.
That's true.
Because he wouldn't have appeared in any catalogues, any marketing, anywhere.
I don't think I'd ever seen More Than Meets the Eye as a kid, or those early episodes. I don't think so.
But I mean, I'd seen him in the cartoon, but I mean, I wasn't aware there was a toy because there was no sign of it. We would not have been exposed to it.
You would have walked past the Juiced Diaclone in a store in the UK and simply not known that the Transformers Reflector was that toy.
You would have thought it was a fake Transformer. That's the thing. You'd be like, oh, not real Transformer.
Yeah. And there were loads of bootlegs of that toy as well. Just tons of vintage bootlegs of the Reflector and Microx toy.
Well, it wouldn't have had a rub sign, would it? So, they trained you. They trained you. They told you if it doesn't have a rub sign, it's not a real Transformer. Cheeky buggers, honestly.
Well, the Omnibots didn't have rub signs either in the US when they were shipped to. No, they didn't. It was only in Japan that they got rub signs.
I'm looking over at mine now, and yeah, I guess you're right. I can see Autobot logos on them. So, but I couldn't remember.
But you sold a really nice downshift, didn't you, in a Japanese mailer box, and that one had a rub sign.
It did have a rub sign, yeah. So, and it went for an absolute packet. I can't even tell
It
you.
would do, yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was lovely though.
The age of affordability of those Mailaways is rapidly passing. I mean, power dashers, you and I probably paid more than we wanted to for those power dashers, and it just got harder and harder to find mint ones with perfect chrome.
I don't know. I didn't do too badly with them. I think I'm trying to think of the three. It was the red dude, the car that took me. I'm not going to remember their names. It was him that took me. Yeah, exactly. The Power Dasher car. Yeah. Well, they've all got names now, don't they?
That's
like
true.
ZR and what have you. So, but yeah, the Power Dasher car. He was the one that really gave me the most chip. I think just because of the feet, because there's often chrome wear on the feet and everything.
Definitely.
But the other two weren't too bad. ZR, I always remember, is the drill, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the most available.
He was easy. Yeah, very easy. Honestly, 10 a penny. And not too bad. But it is the chrome wear on those toys that just kills them.
Yeah, and they're not... you can see why they wouldn't have put them out with the rest of G1. There's just a little bit of difference to them. They're molds from much earlier in Takara's Diaclone line than the car robots and stuff like that. And they just feel a lot older. Like the Power Dasher Jet, its robot mode isn't great. I mean, It doesn't stand very well either. I think they would have been hard pushed to put that out as a flagship Transformers product.
Yeah, I can't imagine it in like a box, because everything was boxed at that point, other than like the mini-bots, for example, wasn't it? So I just can't see it necessarily. Them in like a little box. Maybe they would have been on cards. I don't know, but
they would have been, because all the other versions were on cards. Even the ones being sold in Toys R Us on Diaclone cards in the US alongside Transformers.
I guess stuff like Battle Chargers was on cards and things like that as well, wasn't it? So they probably would have been. But even then, that Power Dasher Jet, you would have been a bit disappointed as a kid, wouldn't you? If it was like you went to the store. Imagine Liam, you going with your nan and rocking up, and she's like, "What do you want?" And you got all of these. You got like Hoist and I don't know, Run Amok and whatever there, and you end up going home with a Power Dasher Jet. You'd have been a bit fed up with that, wouldn't you?
Bit of taste of disappointment there, wouldn't there?
Right, indeed.
And then its face would have fallen off as a sticker.
Yeah, that's true. His face is a literal sticker, isn't he? He looks a bit like a clown.
Yes.
Like Broadside Jet mode.
I don't think it's even as good as Broadside Jet mode, honestly.
Wow. Brutal.
Have you seen it in hand, Liam, this guy?
I've not seen it in hand. I've seen photos of it.
Right.
The one at TFN was the Drill Dasher seemed to be everywhere at TFN. It's quite
they often are.
Drill Dasher's great. I really like that Drill Dasher. It's a very nice colour. It's got nice chrome drill as well. Rounded off for Transformers, though. And they used to come with Diaclone drivers when they were released originally. So, there was a bit more to the toy originally. It has like a little cockpit for them. I can totally see why Transformers didn't carry them in stores, though. I mean, totally. Omnibots less so. Can't really... They're more fragile than your regular Autobot cars, but I don't know, maybe price point again would have been different, because I think they were cheaper as Diaclone cars than the rest of the car robots were in yen.
Now, one thing that I find people are often surprised to hear is that they weren't Mailaways in Diaclone. I think people just, for some reason, assume that must have carried over, that it was the same. And they weren't, were they, when they were the double changes?
Correct.
And I know I've said this on the pod before as well, but I find it funny that they're called double changes because they double change, whereas actually triple changes are triple because they have 3 modes. Like it doesn't...
That's right.
There's no logic there. But anyway, that's the whole other thing. But yeah, I do find it fascinating. I'm guessing that the Power Dashers in their Diaclone forms were not Mailaways as well, right? They were just retail?
Retail. Yeah, on Diaclone cards. And they were on Justra Diaclone cards as well. And you find those in the UK occasionally too. They were on Giga cards as well in Italy, and also in boxes in Italy, and then in boxes in Japan. Really widely sold, widely bootlegged as well. And they just, I guess, Transformers thought, well, we need a promo. Let's give people another reason to buy more Transformers and clip and save a bit more, and then be horribly disappointed when this spindly toy with chrome wear and sticker.
These toys are a bit cack. Let's use them as a mail away. Yeah.
Imagine being that kid who goes into school, like, oh, here's my new Transformer, or someone's got like Metroplex and stuff like that. You just got one of the dashes. You're like, oh.
Not even in the cartoon. Not even got a name at that point in Transformers.
The thing is, if you'd have seen it, you'd have gone, is that a GoBot? That's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
They are a bit GoBot-y. Yeah,
the drill has massive GoBot energy.
Yeah, it really does. That's not a knock on GoBots. I'm not not trying to lead the GoBot dissing or anything like that, because there will be people who are going to get a little bit annoyed about that, let's say. But they do have GoBot energy.
And then, of course, we've got Time Warrior. I mean, do either of you guys remember anyone who had a Time Warrior as a kid? The one with the Autobot symbol that opens up like the wings of a ladybird?
No.
I don't remember anyone had either. Do you remember the paperwork from when you were a kid?
Nope.
So both of you will have learnt about Time Warrior as adult collectors.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Did it appeal when you found out?
No, because it's not a robot. Yeah. I like the ones that turn into the little robots, and I did know people that had those as kids.
I had those. This is a step down.
Yeah, I totally the robot ones over this for sure.
So you do come across collectors who love Transformers tat and like merch.
Yeah, that's not me.
I remember having that Power Master torch, that one, and loving stuff like that. As long as I was getting the toys as well, I never wanted it as a replacement for toys, but alongside them, yeah, sure, I'll have a lenticular Transformer sticker for the wall, and I'll get that Saint Michael book of, clear stickers that you can stick on your wall and everything, but never in place of a toy. But you guys wouldn't have even considered it in addition to toys.
If I'd have known about it at the time and it was going, I'd have probably said, yeah, I love one of them. But it looks a bit too much like, I don't know, it's more like curtains than a Transformer, isn't it? It just kind of splits open a little bit. You peek at the time, put it back together. I don't know.
Curtains.
Well, I'd love a Time Warrior. It's massively high on my want list. I'd love a mint G1 Time Warrior.
What kind of curtains you got in your house, man?
That's what it looks like. You sort of pull it open, peek at the time, close it back up. That's terrific. But at the time, I would have had those. I had quite a few of those. The ones that turn into robots.
The
knockoff of the Diaclone ones, but they were like the quartz LED.
Yeah, they were.
In the silver box with that synthwave-looking cityscape. So we had quite a few of those, a black, blue, and a silver one. So this always looked like a step down. Why?
Yeah, I'm with you, Liam. Honestly, like the little. They were probably, I'm sure they were the knockoff ones or whatever. They always seem really cool to me. I remember kids having them at school and just like taking them out in lessons and stuff and just being like, haha, and then it's like, it's a watch. And there was always a real appeal about that. The Time Warrior one. So I have a bit, you're going to laugh when I say this, but I have a bit of an aversion to tat anyway. Like you described it as tat, and that is the word I would probably use. I'm not saying that about Time Warrior specifically, but just a lot of kind of promotional stuff, that kind of thing. It's not just Transformers. It doesn't really appeal to me with a lot of things. Do you know what I mean? Like, when like real gift shop stuff, it just doesn't do it for me.
The thing is, Time Warrior has an instruction booklet. It has a proper G1 instruction booklet that comes with it, and it's got
how to open the curtains.
Well, that's it. But the Power Dash has come with that too. And I just think it's great that it's almost like a missing part of the G1 line that you could have now. I mean, okay, the box isn't very interesting. It's just like Reflector's box. It just says Transformer Watch on it.
I'm just looking at a picture of it now, of Time Warrior, and the little instruction booklet. It's from your blog post, actually, Maz. Funnily enough. And the picture of the instruction booklet, it's got a picture of the watch, and then underneath it just says, watch.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
That's what the Mailaway packaging was
like. It's really funny. I don't know why it's so funny, but just watch.
Like, measure your expectations, guys. That's what that's for.
It sounds like a threat.
No, I'm completely not with you guys. I think Time Warrior is fantastic, and I'd love to have one.
Really?
Absolutely would be a centerpiece in my collection. I'd put it on the shelf with all the microchange stuff. And
I thought you were going to say with all the other tat.
See, I wouldn't mind having one now. If I saw one cheap or something, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's kind of a fun little piece of shit. But I've got a Transformers shot glass. That's cooler than this,
I don't think it is.
You can get better looking Transformers watches. The G2 ones that we're knocking about. Even the Beast.
Oh yeah, they're yeah.
I don't see it as a Transformers watch thing. I see it as a part of the original early G1 line and Mailaway Transformers, which are
really
quite. So you're like hardcore in, like you'd see it.
I love Mailaway Transformers, man, because getting Omnibots and getting Power Dashes, like completing the Power Dashes when we were doing the GCWO was a huge deal for me. It's just like, I didn't grow up with these toys. These weren't available to me, but they're from the very earliest part of G1, and they have the same aesthetic on their paperwork, and they would have been mentioned in the earliest G1 paperwork. And I do remember Time Warrior from when I was young, seeing it in catalogs. So I'd absolutely adore the chance to have that. And it's not easy to get.
But those are toys that, like, you know, they're like your other toys. They're robots that turn into things. This is a timepiece.
Yeah, but you don't just collect Transformers toys. You just said you have a shot glass. We collect Transformers stuff.
Oh, somebody bought me
catalogs. I mean, I collect paperwork. I collect catalogs.
Equally, a shot glass is kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a shot glass. You can drink alcohol out of it.
Exactly, and loads of it. But like,
but does it tell the time? Actually, Time Warrior doesn't tell the time anymore either. I bet. So.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like with this, I get what you mean, like through a nostalgic sort of viewpoint. But it is Tat. I like Tat, but even I'm like, there are better ones.
No,
I don't know.
I wouldn't put it all down to nostalgia. I think I would have loved it at the time, and I think I'd love it now. Well, listen, guys, if you come across a Time Warrior or someone offers you one and you don't want it, please by all means let me know. Pass it my way.
You've made me think it's like the most amazing, most valuable thing to ever exist. So
it is valuable because it's tough to find. Because I think most people would have thought what you guys did and like, I'm not sending my robot points away for that. So they probably had loads that never made it out of the box.
The thing is, at the time, if I'd have known of this, I would have probably done it because me and my cousin used to were always into this sort of stuff. You know, you had those little like key rings that made noises and anything like that. Watches. Do you remember like the Nintendo watches and? But it had you could play like Super Mario Brothers 3 or Zelda on it and stuff like that.
I've just seen a photo that Sixo has posted of Time Warrior in the chat. I want that so bad.
It looks so naff, man. Like, let's be honest, that looks quite naff, doesn't it?
It's an Autobot logo watch. I cannot understand why you can't see the appeal in that.
It looks like it's got eyebrows. It really does. Really big eyebrows.
Yeah. I like the way that the mouth doesn't open, so the mouth is the button. That's quite cool.
So like, it's got chrome.
That's fun. But it totally looks like some Poundland Tat, man. Honestly, it just looks like someone has got one of those really cheap digital watches from the era and put 2 bits of plastic on the front of it.
And the reason exactly what's happened.
I was going to say the reason it looks like that is because that is what it is.
But look, how rubbish are Power Dashes as well? They are not the same quality as your G1 collection. They just aren't the same quality of toy. But if it didn't turn into a robot, you probably wouldn't buy it. But so the quality, you know...
There is a Time Warrior on eBay.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out later.
It's $1,000, mate.
No, that sounds about right.
I mean, really? I mean, I sort of knew that it was going to be stupidly expensive when you mentioned about it, and I thought, I'm just going to check and see what this thing goes for. And I'm sure that's not the going price. Don't get me wrong. That's a cheeky listing, but $1,000, 999 quid.
If something was the going rate, it would have gone.
Yeah, for sure.
Sitting there at $1,000. It's
actually, I say that there is another one here for $500. So, so that tells you everything, doesn't it? So, but still, I mean, that's going to be a no from me, dog. I can't even tell you.
What if they did him in fiction, called him Autobot Sundial or something like that?
Right.
Would you be in for one of those? Is that the Decepticon version, actually? This is Time Warrior, isn't it?
You've just nailed my next Nick Roach commission at TF Nation. It's going to be Time Warrior.
Sundial.
Sundial.
I mean, in a way, if there was a Decepticon one, I think it would be more appealing because there would be a set. You know, you could have one of each or something, one on each wrist or whatever. I don't know. But that would sort of
because that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Would it lie to you about the time because it's evil?
Mate, it can't get any more uncool. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of peaked in that regard already.
Yeah, I would definitely have had one if I'd have known.
Extremely untriple takeover review too, I think, to be mocking this so deeply. It is a vintage official Transformers Mailaway item. It's the same category as the Special Teams cassette or a Lumabots offer, and like it or not, Omnibots and Power Dashes. It kind of is part of the same collection category.
Do you know, I love it for what it is, and it's not for me. It's not something I would seek out. I understand the appeal of it. I do, despite the Mickey taking. You know, and I get it. It's a part of history and all of that. It's just not for me personally. I do sort of see the appeal of it. I do wonder. I'm just looking at it now. There is another one. The sold listing on eBay. It was listed for 377 quid. And it went for best offer. So I don't know what they got it for, but presumably it would have been more.
He's buying one now, M.A.S. That's what's happening.
More than 300. I am not, mate. I can assure you, not at those prices. And they're pretty worn, actually. The ones that are going for that price as well, like really rubbed off chrome, and But I was going to say it probably falls into the same category of what you were talking about before, or we were talking about before, that actually I'm sure a lot of them just haven't survived. And if they didn't have like proper packaging, it's got that really like sort of rubber wristband as well, which I'm sure is going to be quite knackered on a lot of them.
For sure. I mean, if people don't remember it, it probably means it wasn't on offer for very long. And if people didn't like it and their reaction is like yours, even as kids, then they wouldn't have ordered it, which means the very few that did make it into people's hands, they must have really wanted them. And of course, they would have taken them out, put them on their wrist, used them, abused them, and they would have fallen to pieces, which all just feeds into the rarity of it.
Yeah, we were all super into novelty watches, though, as kids, weren't we? That's what you had. I mean, I say this now, as I just pulled down, I've got a Nintendo Game Boy watch that I wore to TFN that one year because the alarm wouldn't stop going off. But so I would probably have had one as a kid if I'd have known about it.
See, the watch that does appeal to me for sure is the other one, the little Robo one, which was part of Microchange, wasn't it? And I know it was KO'd loads and everything. Yeah. That does appeal to me, and like it was released in Generation 2 again.
Yep, that's right.
I would absolutely, I would pick that up.
Yeah, there are so many cool watches that came out of the original Takara Watch Q line, and we will absolutely come back to that one day.
I guess watches as a theme is slightly not the topic, isn't it? But it was
watch and wait.
Right, indeed. You know,
there's a Raz episode, if ever there is one, is getting him on to talk about watches.
Oh, really? Is he a watch guy as well?
He's the man to go to about Transformers watches and pre-Transformers watches.
The one thing that always appeals to me about that other watch as well is that supposedly it's the first toy of Vector Prime from Unicron Trilogy.
Oh my god, it's got fiction, hasn't it?
It's got fiction, yeah. Someone's it's got all the, but it's like an official thing as well. That it's been retconned to be the sort of original take on Vector Prime and all of that, because
that sounds like something Time Warrior needs. It needs some fictional love.
Well, do you know, there's the thing with Time Warrior for me, I think what doesn't help it is the name, because whenever I hear the name Time Warrior, it's such a cool name, I will grant you, and it sounds like something that I really want to be appealing. And then when I look it up, I fully expect it to be the little robot dude. And then when I realise it's just the Autobot curtains, I'm like, it's that one, isn't it? Ugh. So
I feel like this would be a great point to move on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder if they'll ever do like a masterpiece version, but would it just be called a timepiece?
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Right, well, it's that time for the bit of the pod. Time, again, there you go. We're for talk about our sponsors, and we're going to take a look at TF Source, first of all, and see what they've got in stock and up for pre-order at the moment. You can check them out at tfsource.com for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And they've got loads of stuff, don't they? I'm going to cut to the chase and just say straight away, they've got Pink Hot Rod in stock, so that's pretty exciting. What are you doing hanging around and not pre-ordering that bad boy? Because he's right there.
It's the Starscream, man. If they've got that in stock, I'll be slapping an order in for that.
They do?
I missed it.
Do it, man.
They've got it, and Hot Rod.
All right.
Did I mention they had Hot Rod?
Yeah, so I'll order those.
Yeah.
But for me, it's MPG04 Trainbot Suiken from the Raiden Combiner. MPG, man.
Knew you were going to take it.
Yeah, everything about it is bang on for me. I love the robot mode. It's gorgeous. The train mode, even more gorgeous. And even the arm mode. I even like the arm mode. And I know there was some concern about how far it could actually articulate when attached to Raiden. But when I saw that stock photo of Suiken in arm mode attached to Shuki as the chest and the head that comes with Yukikaze, man, that was just absolute magic. I love how this toy looks. Gimme.
It does look great. The colours are so rich, aren't they? Just so absolutely nice. Beautiful.
So unique.
Yeah, really, really gorgeous, honestly. I did notice the video, and I do have a slight concern about the elbow bend. I'm not going to lie. Like, it did look a bit awkward and kind of like not, I don't know, it just didn't look like it moved very far. So we're going to definitely have to see on that. But, even if it ends up being a question of robot modes and train modes, still great, and it's still in for them. So it looks fantastic.
What about you, Liam? What do you want?
I am looking at MC01 Elvis.
What on earth is that?
It's like a third-party Voltron by Microcosmos, it's called.
That's quite a name.
Oh, it gets even better. The company I think is called Lucky Cat.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So I've seen this before and I always thought it looked great, but the reason it popped back into my attention is I don't know if you've seen doing the rounds. There's a third-party War Within style Devastator.
Yes, I have seen that. I think
popping up over the last few weeks, and so I keep looking to try and find somewhere to pre-order it, and then that's how I happened upon this because it's the same people who make that.
Right. Okay. Well, Lucky Cat.
Yes.
They just crossed your path.
Oh, gosh.
It does look pretty cool, actually. I think I have seen pictures of this thing before. I'm sure somebody had it or reviewed it or something, and it does look really cool. It's a great design.
Yeah, I think PR did it because he did. It turns into little boxes as well. That's what
Right.
all their toys do. So the Constructicons also turn into little boxes. But yeah, so in lieu of a Constructicon pre-order, I kind of looking at this like, man, that looks really cool too. I like that it's small as well.
I like that there's a picture of the main cat turned into a box, and then the sword is just in it, like Sword in the Stone. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. Like, I would never have thought of them turning to boxes would be interesting, but it's just a fun little extra, isn't it?
Cat in a box.
Cat box.
Cat box. Soapbox.
It's a big litter box, isn't it?
Cat box, litter box.
Yeah.
Space fits in with the toilet theme.
Yeah.
He's going old school for those. He's just spreading out to different species now with the toilets.
Absolutely. Why not?
What are you looking at, Sixo?
Right, moving on to what I would have picked, probably the train bot, I guess. But can I pick pink hot rod? Can I go for that one? Because that really does look fantastic. No, I'm going to say actually some of the new legacy stuff looks fantastic. Honestly, like Leo Convoy and things like that. I know it's Leo Prime now, isn't it? But that does keep catching my eye, and I do think it's really nice. And some of the new Earthspark stuff as well. Actually, I think some of those toys look really, really cool. I tell you what caught my eye there actually was the photography, just because it's so different in front of like the barn and all of that with the little fake grass, and I just thought that looked kind of neat. And obviously, they've done some of the new trailers and things for that show this week as well. I've landed lots of conversation about that.
That's great.
I'm into it, honestly. So anyway, let's move on to Kapow. Toys.co.uk, who UK supplier, but they do serve some bits of Europe as well. So if you're in one of those territories, then do check them out. And again, they got loads of Transformers, loads of other toys as well. Well worth a look. Fantastic sponsor of ours. So please do check them out at kapowtoys.co.uk. And what's got your eye here, gents?
Right. Well, I've actually ordered this now, so I can talk about it. I've been mentioning it for 3 episodes in a row now. In the Diaclone section, Kapow still have the DA35 Sky Jacket Sky Savers version, and that's the white repaint of the original Sky Jacket that came out a bit earlier. Now, this looks a bit like a jet and like a suit, and it clips onto one of the one of the maneuver style powered suits, and it just makes it look incredible. It's got a wing pack, jet boosters on the legs, fantastic gauntlets. It is gorgeous. Very small, really small. But I had this originally when I was collecting, and it was a super fun set, and it made the powered suit look great. Just thought it clashed with the colors a lot, but they released a white powered suit to go with this, and it just looks like a mini version of the Trijetter, and they've got it for under 40 quid, which is just fantastic nowadays as a price. So not sure how much longer that's going to hang around now the cat's out of the bag, but I've put my order in, and reckon a few others will too when they find out what Kapow still have them for.
What about you, Liam?
Back to that Diaclone you were just talking about. They've had it for ages, haven't they? Because I almost bought it a long time ago without realising you needed the suit, and it didn't come with that. Because it reminds me of, do you remember the Centurions?
Exactly that, yeah. Precisely the vibe it gives me. And yes, it is a little bit of a funny one because the packaging does show the powered suit as well, but they do a lot of that with the Diaclone line. It's a bit cheeky.
You really have to, particularly not speaking the language of the packaging, you really have to kind of do your homework a bit, don't you?
100%.
But the thing I was actually looking at is the Transformers Legacy Deluxe Scrap Hook. There's like a Junkion car thing. Like, that looks kind of neat.
Yeah, it's fun that they've done another new character, isn't it?
Yeah, it's completely new design, right?
Yeah, and he crumbles to bits, so you can plug him into other guys, I think.
So it's like a fossilizer as a Junkion kind of thing.
Yeah. You remember like when they did Six Gun and Brunt and those?
Oh, yeah. Weaponizer, sorry. That's the word I'm looking for, weaponizer.
Yeah. It's a great idea. It's kind of the perfect realisation of Junkions, really, isn't it?
Totally. Spot on,
totally makes sense, you know.
Yeah. That they wear each other, where the dead parts of them make. But I saw in the artwork there was one of the motorbike with a sidecar, and so I wonder if it's going to be the Voyager we've already had as Junk Keep and Retgar with one of these that can plug into the side. That's going to be quite cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but I'm here for more Junkions. It's nice to see them go outside of bikes. Well, it's nice to see them even do the bikes because it's normally just Retgar, isn't it? And then Retgar repainted.
What are you looking at, Sixo?
Well, I guess for me, it's not necessarily something that I'll look to pick up myself, but I do think it's interesting. Is the old Velocitron Leader Class Galaxy Shuttle. And I just think that it's a very intriguing toy all round. I mean, it's caused tons of comment online. It's I guess what's funny for me is that, yes, it doesn't really look like the original character much. I mean, it's got a sort of head sculpt, and I think Mark Mayer, wrote something on his Instagram or published something sort of explaining that he didn't work on the original design, but there was this sort of alternate head that he sort of found, I think, for it, and how it sort of came to be. It's quite an interesting story. But I think what really kind of makes me laugh with stuff like this is that when this comes out, you suddenly get a lot of people who you never would have expected are huge stalwarts for like vintage Japanese victory accuracy. It's sort of quite funny how important that becomes to people all of a sudden. And it's like, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's just, you're not going to, if you're not going to get a new mold of Victory Shuttle or whatever, any of those toys, then a retool or a repaint of something else is as good as it's going to get, and better that than nothing, surely. I don't know. So it sort of makes me laugh, but I think it looks quite cool.
Started after the countdown base, isn't it, as well? The little launch pad. I think is that like where the colours come from?
It certainly looks like it, yeah, absolutely. So, which is another kind of neat little nod as well, isn't it? So, I think the robot mode looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think it looks not really nice. I'm going to get it because I really like the Astrotrain mold, but I'm quite happy when they do interesting recolors like this with heads and something where it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure, I'd love its own mold, but at the same time, I think that looks cool. I really like that.
I do like the head sculpt, I think.
Yeah, the head sculpt's really nice.
It's very, very Galaxy Shuttle, and that is probably one of the very best parts of Galaxy Shuttle is the head sculpt. So that's very on character there.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's on Kapow. It's up for pre-order right now, and they've even got a little bit of a sale on. You can get Liam plug. You can get £1 off, mate. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, why not?
I like taking advantage of a good sale.
Yeah, indeed. It's £1 towards a Time Warrior further down the line, isn't it? So.
Out of 1,000.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, get in on that. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So that is our sponsors for the evening. That is tfsource.com and kapowtoys.co.uk. Do check them out. And as always, a massive thank you from us to both of them for sponsoring the pod.
We now return to the Transformers.
Okay, going back to Mailaway Transformers, before we got onto the subject of Time Warrior, Liam, you mentioned that had you known about the Stars base as a kid, this would have been something you would have gone for. So this flat pack cardboard, sort of put it to yourself playset. What would have appealed about something like that?
Oh, it's a base. It's a playset. Those two things I loved as a kid. Because I was always one of those kids, when I played with toys, I wanted to have like a background and stuff. That's what all my photos come from. It's that. I wanted that, and that's what I was trying to imagine. So I used to go and play at this old lady's house down the street because the front garden had like one of them cool rockeries, but the ones where they go to like the crazy degrees. So it's like a small jungle with rocks and everything everywhere. So, and that's where I would take my toys down and play. Like I had a Mantiforce base that was all rocks and stuff, and so I'd blend it in with that, and then that would become a base. And this sort of thing. So this
is not actually a childhood story, is it? This is just now, and you regularly just go down to this lady's front garden and
this afternoon. Yeah.
Phrasing.
Wow.
Yeah. The secret life of Toybox Soapbox.
Not so secret anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, so this, like when I saw this, it's perfect to have a little base for your Transformers like that for the larger toys as well, because we had all the Micromaster bases and stuff. Mm-hmm. But something like this, it's just, I love that. I love looking at all the details, the computer screens and the floor and stuff like that.
Would you have it now?
Oh, God, yeah. If I could get it for a reasonable price, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
I think it goes for money now, doesn't it? This thing?
Yeah.
Like all Mailaways, especially the ones that kids wouldn't have flocked to buy. Like Omnibots are probably some of the most affordable Mailaway Transformers, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, they definitely
Stars
are.
Base, especially the Hasbro version of Stars Base, I think is pretty hard to get.
Yeah,
I just wish they'd do it now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why they couldn't do, because they're obsessed with little cardboard backdrops at the minute in the toys. Why can't they do this? They could have put this in with something like one of the HasLab things or the Titan toys or something. Just get it out there. It would
But
look
not
amazing.
cardboard. Like, actually make a stars base.
Okay, now, yes, we could do that as well. I mean, I would have been happy with cardboard, but I would be even more ecstatic with that. Because I don't think it's a thing Hasbro mind at all. Like backdrops and stuff.
Yeah. Think about the chain bases you love. Imagine if you could get like stars style chain base add-ons that you could just modularly build out and have this amazing base. I mean, how many people would have wanted the Ark because it had Teletran 1 in it? Something like this would be fantastic.
Yeah, you didn't really get bases like that so much back in the day. There was only really this, wasn't there? Until Micromasters and all of that came on the scene. Like, you got the occasional big robot that turned, like Power Master Optimus Prime or whatever, that turned into a sort of a base. But that never quite counted for me, like in the same way, because obviously in all the fiction, they had their own bases, didn't they? So I guess this would have plugged that gap. And this thing's quite large, isn't it? Like, I'm always impressed with it when I see pictures of it by how big it is, because I think when you just see pictures of it by itself, it's hard to kind of imagine that it's actually as big as it is. But I don't know.
It has a door.
Yeah, it does. And there are pictures of it out there with some toys like Hotspot and Hot Rod and Chrome Dome and things like that. And
it fits G1 toys with ease, multiples in there.
Yeah. It's a fairly sizable old thing.
It's amazing how something small like that, like a door, for me, that's really important. Because it's like what I was saying about Starcom. It wasn't the guns and stuff that popped out. It was that I could put like the little cargo pods in. Everything's interactable. And that's something like that, having a door for your characters to go through and out. It just, I don't know, it's such a great thing. Great place.
This thing's got like an alcove as well, with like an overhanging display. Okay, I mean, we're describing it as extremely cool. It is put together by cardboard and it sags in places, and it's not exactly well aligned. But this was available for £4.99 and 4 robot points.
Kills me. This is the one that kills me, that if I'd have known about it, I would have loved to have had it.
And you get like a little membership card as well. You get like a Stars membership card.
You do. I was just going to say, you actually get other stuff as well. An iron-on patch.
Wow.
I used to have a Stars iron-on patch, but it was not the Transformers variety. It's the Resident Evil version.
I love that there's a photo here of G1 Grandus. So it's almost like, G1 Grandus is the Stars base transformed.
They need to do more stuff like that. And the opportunities are right there, particularly as they are doing so many cardboard backdrops. And, they're leaning in with the photography more as well with scenery and stuff.
For sure. Well, what's the origin of Stars, the design of it or whatever? Do we know where it comes from?
Isn't it just it's just a Transformers only cardboard mail-away playset that is exactly what it says on the tin. It's just,
but it doesn't. Like, the design of it doesn't come from somewhere else or anything like that.
Not as far as I know.
It's just something that someone knocked together. There is a picture of the Japanese one as well. I've just found online, which looks slightly different. I think
that's the one that comes with the gold pin badge, isn't it?
It seems to be. Yeah, you can tell it's different because it's got the Japanese Transformers logo on it. From what I can see. But very unique design. I guess I was wondering, because it doesn't look very Transformery, actually, other than having the logo on it. It doesn't look like the Ark, for example, does it? It doesn't look like Cybertron. So I'm just sort of wondering where the design came from, but maybe it didn't.
It does feel very much like that early sort of Transformers art there, where you would see stuff like this.
Right.
And it was completely made up and different. Like, a lot of the stuff in the Marvel comic and stuff is very different to the cartoon, you know what I mean? But even in merchandise and stuff, you would see just random made-up robot bases or even characters, wouldn't you? Just completely fictionalized stuff.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's based on anything, but it feels in step with it, if it makes sense.
No, it does. It does, absolutely. And I think you are right. It does have a very early Marvel vibe somehow.
So what about the Special Teams cassette? Did either of you guys, were you aware of that? Do you have it now? Did you have it at the time? Would you have bought it at the time?
A friend at school had it. I remember that. I remember because I always remember the tune. It's like my favourite Transformers tune. Because you still hear it now. I think they used to use it in the UK commercials. I love that thing because I remember that tape. So I listened to it recently. Oh wow, you've got it.
I actually do have the Special Teams cassette. Yeah.
Oh wow, you actually got it there.
Yeah, I wanted this because mainly when we did our GCWO and we based all of our aesthetics off those Special Teams catalogs and fold-out posters. This was as Liam says, completely in step with it. Yeah, and I just thought it was super cheap. Big shout out to Alex Kirk, who linked me to like a £4, £5 auction for this. And actually, it goes extremely well with the Ticknats Tech Spec card game cassettes.
I was just going to say that because I've got one on the table right in front of me.
But yeah, this to me, like I'm looking at this and it says the Special Teams 30-minute adventure story. I've got no desire to listen to it, but just having it, knowing that I've had so many versions of the paperwork promoting it, and I've seen it in Transformers G1 packaging since the late 90s when I was collecting as an adult, and knowing that it's a vintage item, an official item that came as a result of you buying the toys that you could then mail away for, it's exactly the same thing as Time Warrior. It just massively appeals to me on that basis.
Yeah, I can understand that. Why not? Why not? So it's a bit of a laugh. What is the actual story? Is it? It's not a cartoon episode or whatever. It's like a narrated thing.
I believe so.
Cool.
Which also ties into my love of the Ladybird cassettes,
right?
And those stories.
I was just going to say I can remember listening to this on my tape deck Soundwave, along with the the '86 movie Ladybird.
Tat in tat.
Yeah.
Layers of tat.
Yeah, along with the Ladybird cassettes, but particularly the movie one. You remember the '86 movie one with the book?
Yeah.
Please turn the page.
Fantastic. Oh, that's very 80s as well. There you go.
Yeah.
The color on that artwork and everything is quite something. It's quite pink hot rod in its way.
Of the Special Teams cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another part of this entire brand's aesthetic at the time, and that's why basically anything with that kind of imagery on appeals. I mean, I bought that hot rod painting from Christian Nation. It's just more Transformers art. Yeah. It just goes so well with the packaging, and I love it when it's so on brand. And I think I would happily have bought more of this stuff at the time if it was available. I just don't remember seeing this stuff in stores, and I don't remember the Special Teams cassette promo as a child. But I know a lot of our friends actually do remember this promo as a child and had this cassette as a kid.
That's the one I remember from the boxes, is the Special Teams. You remember the poster of it?
Yeah.
It's the leaflet, that one, with the catalogue on the other side, wasn't it?
It's amazing. It's a wonderful fold-out. It really is something that I would consider just having framed on the wall. All of this kind of period of stuff is gorgeous.
So I don't remember this. This is so funny, and this is obviously like classic, knowing you, Maz, and things like this. But so I didn't know what this looked like, or had no recollection of it. So I thought, well, I better just look it up and see what it looks like online. So just go to Google Images, scroll down a little bit. Oh, it's a tweet from Maz with a picture of the leaflet. Special Teams cassette. There it is, and the
blue leaflet, right?
Yeah, really, it's a little blue leaflet. Yeah, I've just found your tweet. From 2019. There you go. December 6th.
My purpose is fulfilled. I am relevant to one episode and myself.
Well, yeah, when you put in Transformers Special Teams cassette, you come up, you're like, I don't know, you're like hit number 10.
It's higher than usual.
Oh, it's like one of those Now cassettes. You're the 10th track on there.
Well, as long as I'm on the first page, mate. As long as I'm on the first page.
Well, actually,
that's what I call Special Teams.
And now that I want on cassette, that's what I want to be listening to right now. Actually, hit number 4 or 5, hit number 5, sorry, is Kevin Gorman.
Attaboy.
Who's recreated that Special Teams artwork with some of his nice photography and everything, and he's done his edit, to kind of recreate it in the Superion versus Menasor artwork, to recreate it with actual toys. And he's done a very high def recreation of all of the kind of grid artwork with the purple, kind of pinky purple arrow and all of that kind of stuff. It's really nice.
It's unforgettable stuff, isn't it? I mean, we did the whole GCWO with this in mind because it sticks in your mind and it's beautiful. It would be beautiful today. It doesn't look massively dated in a detrimental way, if you know what I mean. It just looks cool.
It's almost got that sort of timeless retro appeal to it, doesn't it? In a funny way, like a lot of stuff from after this has dated more, but this is kind of keying into a very niche specific era of things that where the design of it actually just kind of goes on, doesn't it? I think it's just a sign of good design. Ultimately, it catches your eye.
He's done such a good job of it, hasn't he?
I just sent it to you. Yeah, there you go. It looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, you guys need to check it out. trappedinpolyhex.com. Check out Kevin Gorman's recreations of classic UK and Marvel Transformers paperwork, because he's done the Special Teams cassette and it's just rad. You have to see it.
Well, he's done. I mean, that website's great anyway. He's done way more besides.
Lad.
I was going to say, not only a talented chap, but a lovely chap as well.
Yeah. But I think I said at the time when we were doing the GTWO, this is what I think of when I think of Transformers branding. Like, when I think Transformers, this is the stuff that first pops into my head. This look, that logo, all of that kind of, those motifs, specifically that era, is to me what Transformers is.
So you would consider having this cassette as a cool thing to have because it's a reflection of that look, that style that means so much to you, right?
Yeah, I'm already thinking about after we've come off this looking on eBay for it. So I've done it before, but never just bought it.
I hate to bring it up again, but that's what Time Warrior is for me. It's not just the 86 look, it's the 84 and 85 look of that instruction booklet. And that's what tickles me so much about these silly Power Dashes as well, because they come with that booklet. Yeah. And even though they've all got the same content in there, nothing remotely like fiction or anything unique to them, at least they do have the picture of the individual Power Dashes different for each release. And it's just, I know so many collectors who have folders of G1 instruction booklets. They have them all. They've collected them all, which would be an amazing thing to look through, in all honesty. And this is just more entries into the same thing. So it's that connection. It's not because I look at that watch and think that's the best watch I'm ever going to own. Just like you're not going to look at this cassette and think that's the coolest possible thing. Well, actually, maybe you would.
Yeah, I was going to say, right on my street.
Yeah, look who you're talking to.
Yeah, I'm going to stop while I'm remotely not even ahead. I think that would be the best place to start.
I still have somewhere Sonia cassette from when I went to watch Gladiators. Because I bought one and she sings some random Gladiators song and it had like the theme tune on it.
Did they give it to you after Wolf punched you in the face?
They didn't, but I did buy it after that.
Right.
How can you talk to me about tat?
Because I'm the tat lord. I have so much tat.
But that's not good enough for you. That's too tat for you.
No, now if it was for a very reasonable price.
If it wasn't a grand, then
yeah, fair.
It kind of takes it over. It's not something that I'm like, wow, I must have it. It's like that's a thing that exists.
It's just awful that this stuff costs that much, isn't it?
Even Reflector. Old time curtains.
Tat. Just Transformers tat.
Yeah, it's bad.
Mailaway Transformers is what I'm really talking about. The fact that things like Power Dashes and Omnibots, the torch. I mean, if you see like a carded version of that torch, someone's going to ask loads for it. The bum bags,
the bum bags, yes. But I love the fact it took so long for me to realise that you also had the torch, because it was only quite recently, I think you mentioned it on the episodes, and that's where I'd mentioned it before, like as a thing I'd had, and I think you'd said, yeah, without saying that you'd had it too.
Have you both got the torch?
Yes, I still have my torch.
We've got the power.
Wow. Look at you, torch boys.
You can find it in my Twitter feed, actually. I've posted pictures of
it. I'll probably just Google Transformers torch and you'll be the top hit.
I'm no Kevin.
I don't have it anymore. That's the sad thing. Me and my cousin had them as kids, and I remember buying it because I think it is. Is it the last piece of like branded Transformers merchandise that was released here?
No,
I think it is. Is that not one of the last things? I'm sure.
What about that G2 Overlord bag that Graham has?
Yeah, but was that officially released here? But I'm sure there's some story attached to it that it's one of the very last pieces of merchandise. I'm sure James Roberts will know because I think he wrote this in those books he did about the Marvel comics. His collections. He's got like little snippets in between talking about the comics and stuff. And I think he had a picture of the advert for it. And
of course, because it would have been related to the ad that's printed in the comics. Yeah.
I think has it got is it Skullgrins in a robot on it, or one of the Pretenders, isn't it?
I thought it was Power Master Prime.
No, he was on the box, but I think on the I think he's on the card, but I think on the poster it's one of the Pretender robots in a robot.
Oh no, I think you're right. It is Skullgrin. There's a picture actually. The Power Master torch. There is a picture of Skullgrin, but kind of like getting on fire, basically getting destroyed.
It's the power of the light.
Should we call this episode Mailaway Transformers and Related Tat?
Let's do more tat another time. But I was just interested to hear about it. That was all, because that's an item I'm not at all familiar with. So
I remember getting it and loving it. But when you're that age, I think it's very much like when you get stuff, you're fascinated, aren't you?
That's so good. That's such an amazing ad. That's why I thought it was Prime, because it says Power Master Torch on it. But it's
Power Master Torch. Yeah. But it's Skullgrin on the picture.
I'm pretty certain Power Master Prime was on the card. He's on the actual card you get. That's just on the advert. It's Skullgrin.
But the point I was making is, it's annoying that this stuff is so expensive now. Yeah. Things like Mailaways, things like a G1 Reflector has effectively doubled in price in recent years.
Yeah, Reflector's not an easy one to get hold of, really, is it?
He's everywhere.
KO, so
he's not rare. Reflector is not rare.
You're right. It's ubiquitous, if anything, but it's just quite pricey, isn't it? That's the thing. It's
Omnibots too.
Yeah. Well, it's what we said before. I think with the Omnibots, you can get them for maybe a bit cheaper. They're probably the cheapest of all of this stuff, but they're just often knackered, aren't they? I mean, you see, Maz, we've talked about it before, but even trying to find you an Overdrive, and we ended up with a slightly duff one, didn't we? I mean, it was still nice. It was still great, and
Till it turned it over and was like, oh, 70% of the chrome is missing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was just unfortunate. It was just like inside the legs that obviously been a
without
fault
chrome.
Yeah, but none of these things have been particularly preserved very well. That's the thing, and yeah, such a shame.
They were sold in baggies and sent out in mailer boxes. They weren't in sealed bubbles in cavernous packaging like a lot of G1. Certainly not styrofoam. At least reflectors have been in styrofoam.
Yeah,
if they haven't been bought. But yeah, so much of this stuff is expensive. But I think one section which is still quite affordable is the Weetabix stuff, like in the UK.
I was just going to ask, is that, because I have no knowledge, is that easy to get hold of?
I'm surprised how many of them there have been around, but as you can imagine, sealed versions of them are getting tougher to get. And I was really lucky to get drag strip for like 35 quid.
I remember that. Yeah, was it on Twitter?
Pounced. Yeah, it was. It was old Roboto-chan who showed me that.
Yeah, I remember him being like, oh, okay, I would have thought that would have gone for more, actually.
But I'm really glad I did get it for that, because it let me do the old drag strip stickers thing that Lee Chaney came up with. But it did feel weird opening a Weetabix drag strip to do that. I almost feel like I should have been much more reluctant to do that. But of course I kept the baggie and I kept the little Weetabix thing. And that was weird. I never saw those as a kid. I never ate Weetabix as a kid. That was probably it. Why I never saw them.
They went wrong.
Yeah. What, did they just do the two? Was it just drag strip and Fireflight?
Correct.
Yeah. Just those two. That's so random, isn't it? Just, I don't know.
Unless you were me, then they did the whole lineup.
Well, in a way, that makes it even more bizarre that they just sent you all of these other toys. Like, what?
Such overcompensation. I can't get over it.
Why didn't they just send you one of the two toys that were part of the promotion?
I don't know. Someone had to go out and buy them, probably. So
yeah, it's utterly bonkers. It's like total overkill.
But that's what it would have been, isn't it? That conversation, exactly. Well, do we have any drag strips? No, guys, we're sold out. What about Firefly? All gone. What else have we got? Oh, the whole rest of the line. Fine, send that.
Wheeljack. What about Wheeljack? He'll be disappointed it's not Fireflight.
Yeah. Maybe they were sent a load of toys or something. They just had them kicking around in the office. You don't know. They might have just been samples or something that, they just had, and they were like, God, we want to get rid of these things. Stick them in a box and send them to this kid. I don't know.
I was very grateful. I was very, very grateful.
Are you going to have another grumble that you had most of them already?
Yes.
I know. Terrible, isn't it, having all of Transformers?
Most of Transformers.
Speaking of snack-related Transformers mailaways, we can't not talk about the Cookie Crisp Jazz.
I was going to say, I'm surprised we haven't come on to it yet. So I have a bit of a thing about this because everybody always cites that KO, don't they? There's that, not KO, sorry, that custom that's online of Jazz mocked up with kind of a cookie. Yeah, literally. And I think a lot of people in their head think that that's what the toy was, but it's not, is it? It's just a regular Jazz, but missing some of the stickers, basically.
Well, the prevalent thing is about it that a lot of people still believe that any Jazz without the martini stuff on it is a Cookie Crisp Jazz. But no. I mean, in 1985, in the US, eventually that martini stuff was phased out and it was just a plain number 4 on the side. Then Classics Box Jazz is plain number 4. All of 1986 Jazzes across the US and across Europe were that Jazz. So if you see a Jazz with just a 4 and no martini and no Porsche stuff on the spoiler stickers, it's not necessarily Cookie Crisp. I think the thing about Cookie Crisp was it was one of the first transitional ones where they'd stuck that sticker on top of the martini sticker on the door. So if you peel back the regular plain number 4 sticker on the door, you see the martini sticker underneath. I think that is one of the key distinguishing features of the Cookie Crisp mailaway. But all those other ones you're seeing, like, there can't be that many of them out there. Otherwise, it's more common than the pre-rub Jazz with the martini. but that's definitely an ongoing myth in the fandom.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you just don't have the Martini logo at all, then that's a different version. Yeah. Whereas if you've got stickers over the Martini logo, then it's likely to be Cookie Crisp, isn't it?
These early G1 Transformers Mailaways are huge collector's items. I mean, people pay so much for a Mailaway Mirage or a Mailaway Thundercracker or Sunstreaker. Do you remember that they come with like the black and white printed tech specs, the paper ones in the baggie? They don't come with the full color ones. That stuff. And of course, there's Canadian versions as well. Like you get a Canadian Mailaway hubcap that comes with a Cliff Jumper booklet. I mean, can you imagine booklets for mini-bots? That's just totally not what any of us got. But in Canada, you did. And you got a Cliff Jumper one that comes with a hubcap. That stuff is crazy expensive now. And I think it's just like what I said. If you can get a G1 instruction booklet for a character that is not normally available, it just adds appeal to something like that. And it adds to the desire of collectors. And they go for so much money.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't even realise there was a little booklet for Cliff Jumper.
Well, there wasn't unless you had the Canadian Mailaway one.
That's what I mean. I didn't realise that was a thing. Wow. What, like a little instruction book?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It is
like
super
the vintage style
yes.
books, like say for Wheeljack and...
No, because the Wheeljack one would have been in colour because it's 84. But from 85 onwards, they were all just like the red and white, you know.
But I mean, those styles.
That style, yeah. That style.
Wow. Yeah. Was it like 2 pages?
It wouldn't have been very well. If you look at the steps on the back of the card, they really do make a whole meal of just the fact that you pull out some arms and the legs.
Think of map and it's just the Autobot logo.
Yeah. Of course, Reflector comes with a proper fold-out instruction booklet as well, and it comes with the black and white tech as well. So that's pretty cool. Actually, I think Reflector's tech is printed in its instruction booklet. Yeah, it's actually on one of the pages of the instruction booklet. It's stuff like that makes it cool, I think.
The interesting differences. So that makes it unique.
I get why that stuff appeals to like real hardcore collectors. It's not my jam at all. Do you know what I mean? It's not my arena. But I do see the appeal. Yeah, that's the thing. And for people that are looking to preserve this stuff, I'm sure there's also an element of challenge with some of it as well. You know, trying to find stuff that, as we've already said, you know, wasn't particularly preserved. I mean, just looking at pictures of Cookie Crisp Jazz and the way that it's packaged, it's not exactly going to be well preserved in that box. You know, it's not in any kind of styro or anything like that. It'll just be bouncing about. But then if you think half of the stuff like Mirage and all of those guys, I'm sure they're the same. They just turn up in little baggies or whatever, I assume, with the paperwork in there. So is that right, Mez?
Yeah, so they are just bagged. And you know what Thundercracker missiles are like, so there's every chance they might turn up broken. But they were sent in mailer boxes, you know, those brown mailer boxes that have the Hasbro Pawtucket address on it. I just remembered that the first BotCon I attended, I saw an item there I didn't know existed. And that was if someone had ordered all 3 Omnibots at the same time, they actually got them in a slightly larger mailer box with all 3 Omnibots in it. And that's a super rare item as well, if you can actually get like the mailer box with all 3 Omnibots in it, which, again, who's going to be looking for that? It's super rare, super niche G1 item, but seeing one in the flesh was like, wow. And of course, it was the Hartmans who had it.
That's down to that arena, isn't it, of like cardboard and things like that. But yeah, again, you know, if that appeals to people, then why not?
Of course, Mailaway Transforms were available in other countries as well. Japan had Mailaways. Do you guys know anything about the Japanese Mailaways?
Not hugely, to be honest. Other than the Japanese, well, it was actually camshaft that I had, of course, not downshift because the name swap.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's the white one, but camshaft. Yeah, other than that, no, not a huge amount. I don't think so.
Have you seen the Mailaway boxes for Ratchet and the Omnibots where there's actually like, it looks like Tiger Tracks packaging, basically. Because that's what Tiger Tracks
seen that. Yes,
callback.
I have seen the Ratchet one. I think yes. I think we talked about it before once.
Right. So they had those toys, and they obviously never had things like Cosmos. Didn't get a Japanese release. It was a Mailaway. It was called Adams. Gears as well was a Mailaway, I believe. Ironhide. Or was Ironhide not released? But there's like a slew of early G1 that didn't get shelf release, whereas Reflector did. And then you could get Dinobots later on. And Nor as well is a really well-known Japanese exclusive like Mailaway in a proper box. But they come in US boxes with like stickers on. We just mentioned Tiger Track. Mailaways didn't finish in the vintage era. We've had some reissue Mailaways, like Tiger Track was the main one. Were any of you guys collecting G1 reissues when Tiger Track came out?
Not at that time. Well, not when it came out, no.
Not collecting, buying some of them. Just the odd one here and there. More than collecting, I suppose.
It's exactly the same thing, isn't it? It's, at the time, slightly tricky to get because you had to get a Japanese magazine or you had to get someone in Japan to mail away for you, and then you'd get a Tiger Track. And it wasn't very expensive. It was probably the same price as any reissue G1 car at the time. Nowadays, so much more expensive because of that initial trickiness of how to get it. It wasn't just store sold. It wasn't just available on eHobby. So it's got an extra premium attached to it, and also because it's an exclusive color.
Yeah, Tiger Track was Figure King.
Was it Figure King?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Figaro.
Same thing.
Are they the same magazine?
Yeah, Figaro is just is how it's written. That's all. So it's the same thing though, but the O is just like it's like a Romanized thing, I think.
I had no idea. But yeah, okay, that's the magazine it was from.
Yeah.
And my first one was a Mailaway. I did actually get someone in Japan to send away.
Really? Oh, you actually had the... So there you go. You had the whole process of doing it. Was that in 2003? When was it released?
2004?
Yeah, was it then?
Something like that, yeah. And I just sold my vintage one, my vintage Diaclone, because I thought, well, that's good enough for me. If I can just have the reissue Tiger Track, I don't need the vintage anymore. I still feel the same.
Yeah, they used to do it with the Million Publishing as well, didn't they? With the sort of Generations characters. They're the ones I particularly remember because they were the ones I was wanted but never got because they just always seemed slightly more difficult to get. You know, I was never keen on jumping through hoops. I'd much rather just click a button and buy it. And then, you know, the sort of lengths you had to go through to get those.
Did you ever do it though?
No, never had one.
Would you today? If something was offered, like this retro G1 line that we're all gushing about, the Starscream and the Hot Rod, if they were to offer a grey Astro train, but it was a Mailaway, would you bother with it?
Yeah,
I
for
would.
that. Yeah, for that.
I'm far less lazy than I was then. Like before, I was more like, you know, I'm not that fussed. I don't want to spend that kind of money now through this and just through of being in the fandom for a lot longer. I'd be way more interested in doing stuff like that and going to that effort.
The funny thing now is that you almost... Because there are actually some mail-away stuff. I mean, like the Masterpiece, the Cape and Crown accessory for Masterpiece.
Right, is that mail-away?
That's kind of a mail-away thing, yeah. You have to show evidence. Firstly, I think you have to live in Japan and have to have I believe this is right, have a registered Japan home address or whatever. And then you have to have shown proof that you bought all three of the Masterpiece Seekers, the MP52 mold, and then post that away to then be able to buy the Cape and Crown and all of that. So it's essentially a mail away. But of course, what ends up happening is that stuff becomes available on, you know, sites, Yahoo Japan, whatever, for an absolute premium. And so almost doing the work and doing the mail away thing, like you're saying, would you do Astro Train? Well, yeah, because the alternative is that you pay a ridiculous markup for someone else to do exactly the same thing for you. And you obviously don't want to be doing that, really, do you? Do you know what I mean? Just do the work yourself and save the cash. So that's the choice. But in the case of the Sega thing, I think, yeah, the problem is that you have to live in Japan.
That is a remarkable number of hoops to have had to jump through to get it.
It's mad, honestly. And a couple have already turned up on, sites, Yahoo Japan, for example, for stupid money, like to the point where you're like, well, who is going to pay that realistically? Like, certainly not me. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
The legacy of the mail-away continues.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I was just thinking back. I mean, 2010 was a big thing as well, wasn't it? The whole 2010 thing with Takara. Like the Rodimus stand and things like that. That was all mail-away stuff, wasn't it?
Of course.
Yeah, it was very much in the vein of old robot points and stuff. It was essentially the same thing. But the 2010 campaign was across all kinds of different toys, wasn't it? Like, I know it was across Masterpiece, but a lot of other toy lines as well. I think maybe even Generations toys and various things. And you could collect coupons. But they were essentially robot points, weren't they?
That's it. Like, modern toys were being printed with robot points. I mean, Japan really continued the whole mail-away culture well after Hasbro stopped. Even like stuff like Victory and Battlestars would still have mail-away items those years. In the 90s, they were offering Dinobots, G1 Dinobots, as mail-away. I think in the West, we were very much moved past mail-away Transformers by that point. I mean, were there any notable Beast Wars mail-in items or Beast Machines or Unicron Trilogy in the West?
No, not. I think, well, to be honest, I'm not an expert on it, so don't quote me on this. I don't recall any majorly from Beast Wars. There may have been, But there have been, I think, a few since then. I think there have been a couple of promotions here and there, sort of things over the years and that, but nothing that particularly springs to mind with the same level of, knowledge as like Reflector and things like that.
So looking back on it now, we've talked about multiple mail-in things, toys, tat, modern, vintage. How do you feel about the fact that it's part of the collecting scene and part of the kind of stuff that we try to get? Would you have preferred if at no point there was ever any mail-ins for Transformers? Or do you think the nostalgia of it and just that difference in experience of mailing away for stickers or for a Batmobile or for a Reflector, it's cool that that's part of the history of the brand? Or is it just a major obstacle now for collectors in terms of rarity and effort?
I'd say both of those things, to be honest, because for me personally, it would be, I'd much prefer that stuff was available just to buy, like the Omnibots and stuff. So it was more accessible for people like us. And, there's no hoops and it just be available. But on the other hand, now as a collector, it's fun seeing this stuff and the mystery behind it and the story, even if it's not something I'm that, interested in or interested enough to go and chase. I like the fact that it exists and that there's a history there, and there is, and we can talk about it like this. And you're like, Cookie Crisp Jazz. You talk about the things like there was always something that takes hold, like a myth, and it becomes a truth, doesn't it? To sort of say, because everybody just believes that's the way it is. Like a Wonder Bread He-Man. We've talked about that's another one that goes in that sort of category. And yeah, I think it's just fascinating that we gain a history from this stuff that you otherwise wouldn't have had if it had just been on store shelves and everyone could have bought it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think a big part of the fun of all of this stuff is the discoveries to be made, and certainly in the arena of mail away stuff, particularly because it was, I don't know, I suppose just a bit different from the norm in childhood. It becomes a bit more of an intrigue, doesn't it? And it's like looking it up and seeing what it's all about, and even how much stuff is sort of unknown as well. I think it's sort of fascinating. So yeah, I'm into it.
Do you think those ones that you mentioned are more cool because they are attached to a brand, like Wonder Bread He-Man or Weetabix Drag Strip or Cookie Crisp Jazz? Do you think that's kind of what makes them stand out and be cool, as opposed to just robot points or something like that?
No, I think with these, I think it's more the myth that's attached to them, because all of them come with something where people believe something that's not true about them, and it's taken hold. I think that's actually more important than the toy itself or the actual truth of it. I think it's the thing that so many people shared and it's spread, and it becomes like a more wider known thing, if that makes sense.
The myth.
I think that story and having this little part of history is just a really fun thing to have, and it's way more interesting than people could have just bought it on a shelf or whatever.
Do you think collectors today would be massively annoyed if the toys came just for the next main line or the retro line, if it came with robot points and you had to clip the robot points to mail away for the Astro Train? Do you think people would be annoyed about that, or do you think they'd be like, oh, this is cool, I'm into it?
I think not about everything.
Yeah. So some people would be annoyed, sure. Of course, there would be that spectrum of it. But by the same token, some of the exclusives and things like that are out there are already a ridiculous challenge to get, aren't they? So I think it just depends. I think if it was easy to get hold of, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. I don't know. It might even be easier than some of the store exclusives. But I guess by the same token, maybe the answer is there's already enough hurdles out there, and do we need any more?
Yeah. I think as long as it's quite accessible, like robot points, I think is accessible. It's the stuff like we were talking about, the million publishing stuff. There are a lot of things where it's too difficult to get. That's what you don't want. Stuff like robot points is if you just buy a couple of toys, you can then send off for a toy and it's there. That's fine, I think.
Well, yeah, you've just reminded me of that little mail-away green spark plug minicon I have. I mean, that was a magazine mail-away, wasn't it? From Armada.
Yes, it was. Yeah, indeed. That's what I mean. There were definitely a couple, particularly the Japanese. If you look, there were quite a few Japanese things over the years. Certainly a few through the Unicron trilogy. Even beyond that, I think. I think it's what you said earlier. I think with the Japanese stuff, it's never really stopped. Actually, they've always sort of kept doing bits through the years in the kind of mail away culture. It's probably more the Hasbro line that's sort of not. It's sort of tailed away a little bit. Mail away, tail away.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers everything we have to say about Mailaway Transformers. Was there anything that you guys wanted to bring up that we haven't spoken about? Any particular favourites?
Reflector, probably. Omnibots.
Yeah, Omnibots. It's still such a mystery to me because I've never owned them. So that's something I would really like to own at some point. Overdrive, mainly. The other ones look cool, but Overdrive looks super cool.
I'm going to go with Tiger Track because it's yellow sideswipe, and I've always loved that. As soon as I found out about it, it was magical. And just the idea that I was able to take part in the Mailaway and have it, I think, made it really special.
I could see that, totally. You're not going to say Time Warrior?
Haven't got one yet.
Do you know what? You said yet.
Yeah. Do you know what? If Time Warrior had been available in stores, maybe it just would have been Tat, and it would just been another piece of merch.
Yes,
Tat Warrior.
Nobody would have cared about it. I think it's because of the whole mail-away aspect of it. Squeezed it into the main Transformers G1 toy brand, the way all that other merch wasn't. It is what makes it special. But I still also just think it looks great.
I am legit amazed you chose TFsquareone and not Tat Warrior as your name now.
Do you want to get into a conversation about owning junk and branding, mate?
No, because I know all about it.
He knows whereof he speaks.
Yes.
All right, well, that's our episode on Mailaway Transformers done. We're going to move on to the normal closing. So we're going to talk about our Patreon. That's patreon.com/triple takeover. Now, the main thing here is that you get access to loads more content that we produce. If you enjoy these episodes, there is so much more that you can get for your money, which includes early access a whole week earlier than open access. You can have an influence on the topics that we cover. You can commission little minisodes. We say little, but they usually end up nearly an hour long. And then you can listen to all the other minisodes that other people have commissioned. And we've got like a catalogue of about 33 of these now, approaching 30 hours of content there. And when you go to Gold Box tier, we've even got the new mini-series that we mentioned at the start. So that would mean that if you were subscribed to the highest tier of our Patreon, you would get exclusive content every single week. And that's the major appeal of it. Or you could, of course, just sign up for £1 and just say thank you. We will say, though, the last minisode we published about Pink Hot Rod, we did make that available at our Man in Pig tier. So for just £3 a month, you could have access to that minisode and all the other episodes early from there onwards. But we have other perks as well. One of them is being able to ask a question at Inner Beast level and higher that we will answer on the pod. And our question this week is from Bobby P. And he asks us, I've recently acquired DX9 Gewalt, which is their Masterpiece style Blitzwing, which was a personal mini grail of mine. So what are your guys' favorite third-party figures, or the best that you have or have had the chance to handle?
Great question.
An easy question. Can we keep it to one answer each?
Go on, Liam.
Yeah, straight away, easy. Make Toys Thunder Menace, their Power Master Optimus Prime. It's my favourite third-party toy ever.
It's so good.
It just nails what I think of as Power Master Prime in that shape, like he has on the box art. In that it doesn't look like the box art, but it carries that same weight to it in a way I don't think any other attempt at Power Master Prime has ever really got in the same way that does.
Great shout. It is a great toy. I had Thunder Erebus and loved it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Diaclone compatible.
Is it?
It was, yeah. Perfect scale.
I'm really going to struggle with this one a little bit, just because there are tons that I think are great. I guess the first one that pops into my head out of it all is Feral Rex from Mastermind Creations, if I'm honest. Like, just as a standout, landmark, absolute knockout thing. It's a set of 5 toys or 6, maybe, if you want to get the full set, truth be told. But as a project, it's very hard to kind of top that. The only other one that I would say comes close for me personally, in terms of, again, it's several toys, it's not one toy, but as a set, and just the sheer joy that it brought me collecting them was the Fans Toys Dinobots.
Those were the really big deals, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. They were huge in terms of 3P influence and everything. And, Scoria, actually, in some ways, in terms of Masterpiece third party, is probably one of the most important toys of all of them, because Quakewave was the one that kind of got the ball rolling, but Scoria was like the proof of concept. That was like the one that was like, okay, we can actually do this. There's a Masterpiece styled slag right there, and look at it, it just looks perfect. So it's those toys for me are hugely up the top of the list. What about you, Mez?
Feral Rex comes to mind straight away because it was such an event and not at all a letdown. I still really have great memories of Ocular Max Sphinx. It was a masterpiece mirage. It was glorious, beautiful in both modes. Did absolutely everything I wanted Masterpiece Mirage to do. It was really, really spectacular. So that
amazing feel to it.
Yeah, really. Oh, everything from the rubber wheels to the chrome to just the fact that it was so accurate to the original Ligier F1 car. That's one I absolutely love. Meg Tirano from Fans Hobby is one I've actually kept, which is rare for me to keep third-party toys. I'm so impressed by how much they've refined, make a toy fun to handle, make it incredible to look at, make it amazing feel. And I guess TFC ST Commander.
Yeah, that was on my list of potential candidates.
How can anything be better? I mean, quality-wise, it's just... You're never going to get an official toy of this quality, with this kind of build material and finish, and it's just amazing. It's breathtaking how amazing this looks. But yeah, those are some of my favorites. And how can you not mention Galaxy Meteor? Because that was like fun as all hell. That thing was.
It was in my head too. Yeah, it was up there somewhere. So
amazing toy.
There's an episode in this topic somewhere.
There is, isn't there?
Preserve our. But yeah, thank you so much, Bobby P, for that question. That's been a fun one. And one of our other perks is that if you're a Sixo's Butler, or if you are a Gold Box Classic, you will get a shout out on the pod. So I am going to do that right now. And this list has gotten very long indeed. Right, here we go. Big thank you to Nick, Daniel Roberts, Andy, Preston, Chris, Spiderfather, Adam Shoemaker, Matt, Stephen Perkins, Bad Saturday, Justin Massaro, Dave Dalrymple, Gio Kaiser, Yusufa, John Pearl, Troycef, Anthony Cars, Alec Meir, Captain Nare, Phil G, Jacques Bletier, Rotor Storm, Stuart Webb, Amar, Laserbeak, Puma the Hunter, Vegemite Mike, Peter Hammerson, Shenry, Chris Norris, Jesse Moreno, Jackson Arwood, Nexus, Jim Owen, Aaron Swoboda, TF Starfire, Billy Gator, Andy Gold, Cold Squall, Simon Elvin, Joshua's Misha Kid, Michael Cagle, Cracktastic Plastic, Dan Vestator, Jeffrey Freeg, Nice Sideburns Andy, Inbound Lee, John Wood, Kyler Wilmuth, Tim Banerjee, Campbell, Ben Lewis, Shinsei, Lucas Henkel, Mollis Koenig, Malcolm Hobbs, CNC Rick 56, Will Bates, Mythic Gears, Zach Lawson, Jason Murray, David Shepard, Esteem, Dogatron, Quick Mix, Josh Bell, Ashpolt, Zindios, Christian Hyatt, Mark Alley, Andrew Bentley, Graham Moffat, Connor C, Dire Brave Sid, Burke Perotta, Unchrasmatic Boar, Juan Carpintero, Eric Hoyt, Bobby P, Mike Loyacona, Niar Bat, Tyler Husky, Chris Rodwell, James Clark, Alicia aka Aliciatron, Steve Redman, Fart Warp, Shawnee Sean, Jim Kinsey, Shanty Siegel, and a few new ones, James Pascoe and Ghost Prime, plus the Mapes brothers, who you might recognise. What a crazy list.
It's like the world's longest register, isn't it?
It's getting there.
It really is. Incredible stuff. Thank you so much to all of you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Maybe we should give a prize to the first person who counts how many breaths Maz took then between saying each of that.
Or how many times I had to click the scroll bar on the laptop to actually be able to see them all. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And if you want to join this amazing crowd and join us on Discord, if you're an Inner Beast or higher, and just hang out in the very best online Transformers community there is, that is no exaggeration. Patreon.com/Triple Takeover.
The best emojis, shortly, we have, right? Yes. On Discord. Like, we've got the best emojis. I think we can confidently say that.
Yeah, there's a grot bags emoji. A grot bags emoji.
And there's a pink hot rod emoji with an official pink hot rod.
Man. Yeah, there totally is. Well, we should also say a big thank you to our sponsors for the evening. Of course, that is tfsource.com for all your Transformers and third-party needs, and kapowtoys.co.uk if you live in the UK or bits of Europe. So do check them out. And thank you very much, as always, for sponsoring the pod.
And remember, you've still got plenty of time to get yourself on Santa's good list. Don't worry. I know a guy can get a good word in for you. That's me, by the way. I suggest you head over to rebel.com/people/triple takeover/explore and buy yourself some nice things. And if there's anything you think we've missed in today's episode, any kind of mythical toys or mailaway experiences you've had and you want to tell us about them, why not get in touch on social media? You can find us on Facebook @triple takeover, or one word, or on Twitter and Instagram @triple_takeover. Maz, where can they find you?
Looking for a Time Warrior on eBay. I am @TFsquareone on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
You're going to pull back the curtain on that one.
Are you out of time?
I'm out of touch. I think that's what's come out of this episode for me, that I'm hideously out of touch.
Anyway, I'm @Sixo TF on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon.
And I'm @Toybox Soapbox. Anyway, there's an @.
And I have had my outro completely ruined by the jokes in this episode now. But as the Time Warrior runs out of battery and the Power Dasher motor seizes up, it's time for us to mail away, mail away, mail away, mail away. Until next time. That's how much you spoiled the outro, because everything you brought up was in the bloody outro.
I love the fact it was like in the intro straight away. It was making the joke. Hilarious.
Yeah, and I did say my outro was better than the intro.
It was great.
Fantastic stuff, mate. Well done.